Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Choujin X Chapter 4. When we last left our heroes, we got to see Tokyo sort of start to try to adjust to life as a Choujin. He initially, we learned in a flashback, wanted to take Azuma to the hospital, and Azuma was like, you cannot come anywhere, or they will know you are a Choujin, and you took some weird drug to get there, and I can get really thorny really fast. So Tokyo goes home, he kind of hides from his family, he takes time off school with a fake fever. He kind of has to, hide his beak under, a coat when he goes out to go visit Azuma, who he can't really get in contact with. And he finally reaches Azuma's house, he calls Azuma, and he asks Azuma for help to work out what to do. And Azuma, in a moment of weakness, lashes out at him, tells him to think for himself. Azuma is very apologetic for that, but there's also definitely something mysterious going on with Azuma, as he has not really shown any signs of being a Choujin. And we have a cutaway to Johnny Takayama from the first chapter, who is being questioned by the man in the mask about what happened to the two Choujin syringes that were used by Tokyo and Azuma. Johnny, feeling a bit of guilt for killing off his two henchmen, doesn't say anything, realizing the man plans to kill him anyway, which he does, though not before Johnny accidentally lets slip that Tokyo transformed into some kind of beak mask thing, which puts our mysterious masked man on the trail of Tokyo. So let's jump right on into Chapter 4. And our cover picture here, I kind of mentioned the theory I saw on Reddit last chapter about this focusing with a kind of dual protagonist based on chapter number things, like the OP that theory mentioned, Kafka on the Shore, which would again fit with Metamorphosis and Ghoul, and how chapter 1 and 3 were focused on Tokyo, 2 was largely focused on Ellie, and 4 would likely be focused on Ellie as well. But both this image and the little push notification I got on my Shonen Jump app yesterday implies this is going to largely be a Tokyo-focused chapter, as we see him just sort of sitting on a pillar, staring down the city. As he thinks back to what Azuma said, think for yourself for once. And we see he's just sort of playing with some birds. Maybe the birds see a kind of kinship with him. Thinking back, when we went to eat, and we see Azuma asking for meal combo A, please. Same for me, Tokyo adds in, when we picked class electives. And Azuma says, I think I might do art this year. Me too. Basically, when it comes to anything. Without some kind of gym, Azuma asks, want to come home with me? Okay. I've just been copying Azuma this whole time. I've always been the vulture that gets the king's scraps. Going back to that metaphor, which is a slightly different implication than what Azuma hinted at last time. The Choujin form is what you most desire, whereas Tokyo's thinking seems to align it more as his purest form, which maybe I was trying to do last time, thinking about that in terms of Johnny, and I don't know what the stretchiness has to do with either what he wanted or what he was. Maybe he wanted his arms to not be broken, and so this being able to use his arms like that kind of ties in with that. Maybe, I don't know. That's still just a theory that Azuma had, to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. When Azuma took the Suru High entrance exam, I hit the books and just barely passed. Have I ever made a choice on my own? Even once before now. And yeah, we're seeing though that this is definitely something weighing on Tokyo, and definitely gonna be one of those things that kind of defines his character arc, I think. Of course Azuma's fed up with me, right, you guys? He's talking to the pigeons at this point. I mentioned earlier, what if the birds feel a kinship with him? What if he feels a kinship with the birds? And then the birds start talking, and I'm not sure if this is meant to be a real thing, that he can, talk to birds now, or if he's sort of hallucinating. But the darker bird says, don't look so glum. You'll spoil the taste of this nice bread. The lighter bird, that's right. You're sharing rations with us. Isn't that a choice made of your own free will? You do have the power to make your own decisions, no matter how trivial those decisions might be. Do you see? Which is kind of what he needs to hear. But apparently that's real. Because Tokyo just reacts, you guys, And the pigeon tells him, "Don't shout like that. We pigeons have superior hearing after all. You nearly ruffled my feathers. Besides, aren't we always having conversations like this?" And Tokio reacts, "Always?" So yeah, I'm guessing his bird form lets him talk to birds now. Which is a neat ability. It's not just him like knocking out Johnny that we saw in the pilot. He can talk to birds, which I'm fully on board for. And one of the pigeons says to him, "Yes, we talk while you distribute our rations. Thank you for another day of delicious bread, Atelier." Atelier? We see these two girls who have kind of heard Tokio's outbursts. "Among us, you are known as the bread atelier." Let me quick Google what an atelier is. It's a workshop or a studio. Usually one caused by an artist or designer. It looks like it's an atelier? My thing is muted.
Atelier.
Atelier, it sounds like, by this pronunciation thing. So I don't really see him as a workshop, though. I guess it's not that important to think about. Is this part of my Choujin powers? And then sort of behind him, and like a less prominent thought, am I the bread atelier? And one of the birds tells him, "We've heard the whole story, so I have a question for you." "Oh, okay. Now, if you were Azuma, what would you do?" And Azuma's kind of stunned there. Is he referring to if he were in this situation and like Tokio were the one, or if Azuma were the one who became the Choujin and he came to Tokio asking for advice? Or I'm not quite sure. If I were Azuma, if Azuma had turned into a Choujin instead of me, he would learn about himself, acquire information, hone his power, learn from others, put it into practice, better himself, and use that power to help people. That's, though, I'm not sure that's quite what the pigeon was asking. Because the pigeon asked, "What would you do if you were Azuma?" My reading is more, if you were in Azuma's because Tokio's taking that as, if Azuma were in your shoes, what would he do? But the way that question is phrased sounds like, if you were in Azuma's shoes, what would you do? Though perhaps that's kind of tying into the birds trying to tell Tokio that his own thoughts matter, but Tokio doesn't quite have the self-esteem to actually kind of think about what he would do. He's instead thinking about what Azuma would do. But that does seem to give him a bit of motivation. I can think of so much. I can be like him, even a little bit. Maybe Azuma will see me differently. Which again, also sort of a bit of dramatic irony there, in that Azuma doesn't actually hate Tokio. He kind of lashed out because he's going through his own shit that we haven't really seen yet. But Tokio doesn't know all that. Anyway, he turns to the birds. "Thanks, you two. I'm gonna try it out." And the two girls just watch on, kind of confused, as the birds coo, "Best of luck." And then we see Tokio alone somewhere, under like a streetlight. "Change back!" He's just yelling. "Body! Release! Face! Change back! Change back! Change back!" He's just straining to like try to force himself to change back. Flashing back to Azuma's line, "Until you can control your own body, you can't go outside." And then we cut to the next day, as he's still trying to kind of make the secret work. "For some reason, I'm super hungry." He takes his breakfast out to his room. We see him trying to do the pulling his beak open to eat. That was tough. And then we see him again doing the same kind of bit he did with the family last chapter. Going to the store, "Want anything?" "Fried rice crackers, beer." Him calling his teacher. I actually think I'm doing this in the slightly wrong order. Because my fever just won't go away. I'll go to the hospital today. And then the next panel would have been, "Want anything?" And I think he's walking through town thinking, "Fried rice crackers, beer." And back in his own kind of personal thoughts, "I hear you, Azuma. In that case, I'll just learn to control it. Release! 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 Release!" He's trying, and just nothing is working. 2 days later, "Release! Release! Release!" And then he feels the slightest tingle. And he kind of scratches, it kind of turns around. Sorry, I've been shouting so much as Tokyo there. My voice is getting a little bit hoarse. But he feels that tingling and turns back. Whoa. Release? And he thinks, I felt a tingle. Like a shock at the nape of my neck. Was that some sort of sign? He has a little bit of confidence from that. It'd be nice if I could go back to normal fast. And he says to himself, at this rate, I'll only get better at shouting. And he keeps thinking, I need to start going to school again soon. I'm reaching the limit of my 104-degree fever excuse. If they figure out I'm faking it, they'll probably also find out that I'm a Choujin. Maybe I'll get advice from the pigeons again. But isn't that just shifting my reliance from Azuma onto them? So yeah, we're seeing though, no, let me, I accidentally wrote this next line. No, first I need to become independent from Azuma. Which, like, is kind of, again, like I kind of pointed out, not actually what Azuma wants. But it's definitely what Tokyo thinks Azuma wants. But birds are okay. I'll get help from the birds, whether they're pigeons, pheasants, or... and he flashes back to what Azuma told him. So a vulture, then. I think Choujin turned into the form they most desire. And it comes to a realization. That's it. The vulture. The zoo. I might find a hint here. And he walks back to the zoo. It's still middle of the night. He'll have to, like, sneak in. This takes me back. He walks up to the front gate. And he thinks back towards that zoo conversation with Azuma way back when. Wonder if it's still alive. And just then the zoo closes. We have closed. Thank you. What? Oh no, this actually happened a while ago. So they closed a whole month ago. That's so sad. I should have visited while I still had the chance. And then he sees something. Well, it looks like a young girl kind of staring into space in the distance. And she's just kind of chilling there. Got this, like, hoodie deal going on. I'm trying to make out what she's wearing underneath it. It just sort of looks like a barely covering her nipples kind of thing, but there might be... I think there's some cloth under it. I can't quite tell. Suishida's art style, for better or for worse, has always been kind of scratchy and a little bit vague. At times, as we saw in some of my least favorite Ghoul moments, how Kagene's ended up sort of making that series sometimes indecipherable. But that tangent aside, she's just kind of standing there, and Tokyo notices her. A person? I wonder what she's doing all by herself. Oh, and he notices her giant boobs, and turns away. She's the type of girl I could never talk to. See ya! And he just walks away, and the girl calls, wanna see? Huh? You can go through here. To get inside. She points out the sort of gap in like a barbed wire fence. I will say though, there was a part of me, a slightly nervous part of me when she said wanna see, especially with Tokyo just kind of eyeing her boobs. I was a little nervous that's where we were going there. But it wasn't, which is all the best. Inside, this is the first time in my life that a girl I don't know who looks like a model has talked to me. And Tokyo then kind of weakly asks, by that you mean... crap, my face! And he kind of covers up what little bit of his face can be seen with his scarf. But... And he kind of turns away, and the girl presses, what? And then he thinks back to the vulture. Might as well try. I'm not going just because of a girl, though. Kind of stressing his independence of his whatever sexual feelings he might have. And as they walk through the abandoned zoo, where there are... animals are just still there, which is really weird for an abandoned zoo. Like, we see this monkey, and I haven't really been commenting on it, but the monkey also looks kind of half-drawn, almost. In a way that, like, some Blue Exorcist panels feel sometimes like they're just kind of a rough draft that got thrown into the official release. That's the kind of vibe I get from this monkey that's apparently just been sitting there since the zoo closed down a month ago, which is just really weird. But the girl asks, so, what did you want to see? The birds... And he's kind of like, he's very clearly trying to like hide his body, try to make himself as like small as possible, thinking, I'm in a closed down zoo with a girl. I feel like I'm doing something bad. And I think this is as the girl who says, that's a giraffe. Did you know? Giraffes make a moo sound. That's an elephant tortoise. These guys can live 200 years. So it's kind of unclear what this dialogue is about, who's saying what, in all honesty. There's nothing here. They must be in their pen or another zoo took them in. Actually, maybe it's Tokyo saying the first one. There's nothing here was the hyena, by the way. Because then we have this line, that's an alligator. They taste delicious. Which, I'm not sure if... I don't think alligator is like some kind of Japanese delicacy I've never heard of. So it's maybe a sign that this girl is kind of a little bit dangerous. Especially that perfectly placed danger sign. Anyway, we then see more of Tokio's thoughts. I wonder if she's a runaway with a penchant for animals or something. And they arrive at the reptile corner, which is not exactly where they need to be going. As one of them says, "Oh, a snake." And Tokio turns to the girl. It's flicking its tongue out. It's on its guard. They sense the air around them with their tongues. It really is. And then she shoves Tokio into the glass into the glass divider. The snake gets right up in Tokio's face, kind of leans back. Ah! And the girl kind of chuckles. Almost got a smooch from a snake, huh? And Tokio looks at her. Why did she do that? Is this what girls do? Yeah, she's definitely a Choujin of some kind. That's very clearly obvious. I haven't quite pointed that out yet, but it's definitely where the story is going. But as it kind of thinks on her shoving him into the glass, darn it. For some reason, I kind of like it. Okay, we see where your interests lie, Tokio. But he's kind of confused as the girl gets right up to the snake and whispers to it. In a scene very reminiscent of Tokio talking to the birds. So I think she's a snake Choujin. Which would fit there's this kind of scale pattern to the sleeves of her jacket. And Tokio just kind of watches her. And then she turns back to Tokio. The birds. It says they're that way. Okay. And then she just kind of casually says, I asked for directions. Uh-huh. Thank you. And then he just kind of thinks, I guess it was a joke? I messed up the comeback. Why did I say thank you? Oh, she's completely different from the girls at school. I can't hold my own against her at all. Yeah, that wasn't a joke, boy. She's talking to that snake. If only I were Azuma, I could wow her with my witty animal small talk. Damn it. I can't believe I'm even thinking of Azuma at a time like this. I'm sure that'll give any Tokio Azuma shippers in the audience something to think about. With his sexual-esque thoughts being tied up with Azuma. I mean, you can make the argument. People have made the argument off of less. Anyway, he just kind of thinks, something to talk about, but I can't even hold my own with the girls at school. And then she just says, the bird corner. Huh? And he looks up and sees the bird forest is where they're in. And he looks around, oh, whoa, it's still alive! And it's the vulture, right there, that he's hoping can help him out with his problems. Hey! And he turns over to the bird, you remember me? It's been 8 years, I think. And the vulture just turns its head. Oh. I'm pretty sure this is the same vulture. Maybe so many people come by, it doesn't remember each one. And the focus of this panel, though it's Tokio talking to the vulture, the focus is very clearly on the woman, who is definitely listening in on him talking with the bird, as she's obviously a Choujin. And he calls to it, hey! And he thinks, this worked with the pigeons, though. Do you remember me at all? And the girl laughs. Haha, what are you doing? Huh? And he kind of scratches his head, tries to play it off. I thought I might react. Oh? And she grins. And gets right up in his face. You're kind of adorable. Huh? And she sort of eyes him. She's going to take... And he is looking between her and the vulture. She's kind of her eyes are kind of squinting. We see his heart just beating fast. My first kiss! And she turns into a snake and chomps his head. Huh? Next chapter coming soon. Okay. I was right. She's a snake Choujin. Not that it wasn't super obvious. Wow. That's a lot there. Okay. All right. Let's kind of dive into this. So I talked a lot in the first half about sort of Tokio's character and the kind of things that he's sort of getting from Azuma, even if Azuma desperately does not want that to be what Tokio gets from him. And sort of how that might push him in different directions. Particularly, he thinks Azuma kind of hates him. And Azuma doesn't, obviously, as we sort of saw in last week's chapter. But he definitely sort of has this idea, which makes sense, given what Azuma said. He didn't get to see Azuma's regret. Azuma kind of ran out to try to fix things, but Tokio had already ran away. But here we see he's definitely still taking that sort of mindset. He wants to be independent of Azuma, which is not exactly what Azuma wants. And the thought just kind of crossed my mind, though, when I phrased it like that, is there a less than altruistic reason Azuma might want that? Might Azuma want Tokio to be kind of dependent on him? I don't think there's any evidence for or against that, but it's definitely a possibility to sort of be open towards. I do think, though, it's far more likely that Azuma is genuinely just sort of wants to be altruistic wants to be, helpful towards his best friend. But then he gets to the idea to ask a vulture instead of any other bird, which leads him to the zoo, which leads him to Snake Girl, who's more than a little mysterious. I think she's well aware. Actually, it's a little bit unclear if she's aware he's a Choujin the whole time. It's very possible she might just from the start see him as prey, and she wants to kind of devour him, as we see she starts to do in the chapter's end. Or she knows he's a Choujin, and this is kind of a test in some way, possibly. I mean, it depends on her role in the series. Because I can kind of see her taking sort of a more Toka-esque role, where a bit more antagonistic at first than Toka was, as I recall. There was admittedly been a very long time since I read the beginning of Ghoul. Though, sort of antagonistic, but generally good, if kind of a jerk, and in the beginning, who slowly warms to the protagonist. And we can sort of see the start of that, as Tokio is very clearly attracted to her. But also, she might just be evil. She's either going to slowly warm up to Tokio, or she's actually just trying to eat this guy, whether she knows he's a Choujin or not. If she does not know he's a Choujin, then it's just she wants to eat him. She wants to devour him like a snake. If she does know he's a Choujin, it could be some kind of test or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's quite the cliffhanger. I don't know what I was expecting to happen in that last panel, but it was not she starts to devour him. Which, given that I already had the snake idea predicted, I probably should have expected, or should have had she eats him in, the realm of possibility. But it definitely was not where I was expecting it to go. And I can't wait to see what happens next. My big problem with Choujin, though, is that I want to know when I will know what happens next. And there's no telling. Some chapters take a month to come out. This one took a week. We'll see what becomes the new normal for Choujin. But either way, I want to see what happens next. So yeah, I'm going to leave this video up here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!